Okay, I'm still working on this incident report, at least uploading the clips. But it's taken me forever because I'm trying to cut out like any little mouse noise or any breath or any downtime to try to like make it more digestible for you guys. So even though these are clips, it's taken me just as long for some reason to edit. Dang it. So this one is a clip from when I read the Shanda statements. So it's just all of her statements and what she said that happened all together. Here it is. Complainant Shanda VanderArk. Shanda said Timothy was a high-functioning autism and she is homeschooling him. Also living in the home are Shonda's 20-year-old son, Paul Ferguson, and Blank's old son, Timothy. All three have bedrooms in the basement, but Blank has been sleeping in Shonda's room since he is scared. Timothy had been living with his father in Oklahoma, but his father could not handle him anymore. Shanda agreed to take care of Tim, and he came to her home in May of 2021. Timothy sometimes wets the bed, so he wears adult diapers on occasion. He has been diagnosed with ADHD and was taking medication for it. He had been feeling much better, so he stopped taking the medication. That's because you stopped getting him the medication, you liar. It wasn't his choice. In January of this year, Shonda's husband, Adam VanderArk, had a stroke and had to be hospitalized. When he got out, he did not go back to the Marshall home since he could not climb the stairs. Instead, he went to live with his parents in West Olive. Recently, Timothy's biological father, name not known, told him he was divorcing his wife and was moving to Florida. Based on these events, Shanda believes Timothy stopped eating. He did not eat for 3 weeks in January of this year and only started eating again after Shanda threatened to take him to the hospital. For the last 2 weeks, Timothy had stopped eating again. She had tried to get him to drink some protein shakes, but he would not take them. Shanda told him last night to eat something or she was taking him to the hospital. He agreed to eat some toast with butter on it, and she made him 2 pieces. She watched him eat 3/4 of the one of the pieces of toast, then stopped watching. This morning, about 5:30, she heard Timothy fall out of bed. His bed consists of a bunk bed over a desk underneath. It woke her up, and she went downstairs to find Timothy laying on the floor. That whole thing is a freaking lie. Well, we know that. She helped him up and he got back into bed. Just after 6:30 a.m., Shanda went downstairs to check on Timothy. He did not answer when she tried waking him up. She checked his chest and found he was not breathing. Shanda pulled Timothy off the upper bunk and placed him on the floor where she started CPR. She continued until medical personnel arrived on scene. According to the medics, rigor mortis had already started setting in on Timothy's body, which included his jaw starting to get rigid. It usually takes hours for rigor mortis to start. Because of this, Shonda's saying she saw him alive at 5:30 and does not appear to be accurate. Okay, so July 6th, I was contacted by Lieutenant Powell and advised of a suspicious death at blank. Detective Alman and Detective Pieski were each notified and asked to respond to the scene. Upon my arrival to the scene, I was briefed by Officer Stefanich, whatever, and Sergeant Krudoff. I was shown to the lower level of the split-level home where the deceased was on the floor. I took numerous photos, attached an RMS along with a photo log of the scene to include the deceased, the assorted webcams, and other items collected as evidence. Dr. Piesk notified me that the mother of the deceased, Shanda VanderArk, had declined to sign the consent to search form. I then left the scene to contact the prosecutor's office and begin the process of obtaining a search warrant for the home. I was able to speak with APA Gilmore and briefed her on the particulars of the case. APA Gilmore prepared an affidavit for a search warrant on my behalf. I reviewed the affidavit and signed it as the affiant. I swore to the contents of the affidavit before Magistrate Wiwaria, who authorized the search warrant. Okay, so information. I responded to blank to assist to the suspicious death investigation of blank old blank. I made contact with Timothy's mother, Shanda VanderArk, to obtain a timeline of events. Statement, or Shanda VanderArk. Shanda advised she works in the circuit court in White Cloud and arrived home from work at 1800 hours, which is 6 p.m. Shanda advised when she arrived home, she immediately took her 20-year-old son Paul to work in Grand Haven Applebee's. Shanda advised on her way home, she stopped and picked up Qdoba for dinner. Shanda advised she arrived home with dinner between 1830 and 1840 hours. Shanda advised blank refused to eat at this time. Shanda advised she noticed Timothy's face was very thin and told him if he didn't eat something, she would have to take him to the hospital. Yeah. Shonda advised at 1900 hours, which is 7 p.m., Timothy agreed to eat toast with butter. Shonda advised she observed him to take about 2 bites. She observed him taking 2 bites, so she walked away. Shonda is not certain if blank ate both pieces of toast. After Timothy was done, sorry, sometimes I forget and say blank, but sometimes I remember to say it and then sometimes I don't for some reason. Anyway, so Shonda is not certain if Timothy ate both pieces of toast. After Timothy was done eating, he went downstairs to his bedroom, complaining his stomach hurt. At 2200 hours, Shonda told Timothy it was time to get ready for bed. Bedtime routine consisted of putting on pajamas, using the bathroom. Oh, so he gets his minute to use the bathroom, okay. And brushing teeth. Wonder how long she gives him to brush his teeth. Shonda advised she asked Timothy for a hug and kiss, but he said, "Mama," in a tone that meant he was annoyed by the request. Oh my God. Shonda advised she went to bed around midnight or 12:30. Shonda advised she heard Paul come home from work between 2 or 2:15, so like 2:05 a.m. or 2:15 a.m. as the dog barked. Shonda said she heard a loud thud come from downstairs at an unknown hour. Shonda thought it was at 5:30, but was not certain. Shonda advised after hearing the thud, she went downstairs to check on Timothy and found him lying on the floor. Shonda asked Timothy if he was okay, and he said yes. Shonda advised she noticed a scratch or 2 on his face and questioned Timothy about it. Timothy brushed her off and said he was fine. To help him up, Timothy grabbed her wrist and got up and climbed back onto his bunk bed. So she had to, this was to explain why he had probably the scratches and bruises on him, huh? You know, the whole him falling out of bed. And plus, it could go along with like, oh, maybe something happened when he fell, maybe. Because they said, since they had that last video, they said he didn't move. After she left that last time, after she made him breathe out of his mouth or out of his nose and called him, I forget what she called him, but she was just a jerk to him, putting him down. They said that they think like shortly after that, he took his last breath. And that whole 5 o'clock thing, that's a lie. So probably to try to, well, we know that now, but probably to try to explain like the scratches on his face and the bruises and stuff is what I'm guessing. So yeah, so she helped him back into bed supposedly, but we know that fall never happened. Shonda woke up to her alarm this morning between 6:15 and 6:20. Between 6:30 and 6:40, Shonda went downstairs to check on Timothy and to see if Paul was ready to leave for his morning shift at work. Shonda advised she said something, I don't know, said Timothy probably, but there was no response. Shonda advised she nudged Timothy, but he did not respond. Shonda advised she placed her hand on Timothy's chest and did not feel the rise and fall of his chest. Shonda advised she called out for Paul to come and help her. Shonda advised she could not recall how she pulled Timothy from his bed. Shonda advised she attempted chest compressions and mouth breathing while contacting 911. But we know they didn't contact 911 right away. They talked about it a while. They did start giving CPR right away. It seemed like it. But because remember, there's a video and audio of it, which we were only able to see or hear the audio on the trial. But they're trying to like, oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We got to say, you know, he went on a hunger strike. And it's, I don't want to say funny. That's not the right word. But it's, I don't even know what the right word is, but Paul basically didn't go. He either forgot or he didn't say that. So she was probably so mad when they were asking him about the hunger strike and he acted like he didn't know about it. And so she was probably like, oh, we talked about this. But Paul didn't go through with that. But I don't know if that was just like nerves, if he forgot, or he just didn't want to lie about that. I don't know, because he lied about other stuff at first. Yeah, 18 minutes. Thank you. Okay, so let's just continue here. So I asked Shonda to tell me why Timothy was so emaciated. Shonda told me when her husband Adam had a stroke in January, Timothy stopped eating. Timothy told her he hadn't felt hunger. Shonda said after about 18 days, she told Timothy if he didn't eat, she would have to take him to the hospital. Shonda said Timothy agreed to eat. Shonda said Timothy stopped eating again around June 8th of this year, shortly after Adam had his seizure. Timothy claimed he was not hungry. Shonda said she could not tell how thin Timothy had become as he wears baggy clothing and keeps a hood pulled over his head. Shonda said she noticed last night how thin Timothy's face looked. Shonda said she threatened to take him to the hospital if he did not eat. Timothy agreed to eat a piece or 2 of toast with butter, but complained of a stomach pain after eating. Yeah, that'll happen Shonda, first of all, well, I don't even know how much I believe you on that, but first of all, when you don't eat for a long time and then you go eat, you do get a stomach ache when you're starving and then you put something in your stomach. It happens because your body is not used to having anything in their stomach. I asked Shonda why so many surveillance cameras are downstairs. Shonda told me when her son Timothy was younger, he used to strip. Oh no, that's not Timothy. That's her other son. Sorry. It was her youngest son, used to strip naked and run around the house. The surveillance cameras have a two-way audio and she uses an app where she can monitor him. Shonda advised she thought the cameras were unplugged as her youngest son no longer strips down naked. And just want to make a comment about that. We know that's a lie because we saw Adam's statement already. And he said that that didn't happen with G. So, I mean, does this girl even tell the truth at all? Is like everything she freaking says a lie? I asked Shonda to tell me why locks were secured to the refrigerator and freezer door, as well as the chest freezer. Shonda said the locks were to prevent the doors of the appliances from being left open. Shonda also said Timothy would sneak food in the middle of the night and would take things he wasn't supposed to have. Wait. Hopefully they caught this during their statement. Well, yeah, I mean, they arrested her right away pretty soon. Didn't take him long to realize, but the fact that she's saying that Timothy would sneak in the middle of the night to take food, I thought he was on a hunger strike. I know later, during the trial after gig is up, she tries to say, oh, he would eat a whole bag of chicken nuggets and bacon raw and blah, blah, blah. But right at this point, she's trying to say he was on a hunger strike and wouldn't eat. But now you're saying he would take food in the middle of the night? Yeah, whatever, Shonda. I asked Shonda to tell me about the closet next to Timothy's bed. The closet had an alarm device attached to it. Inside the closet was a blue tarp, and the closet smelled of human urine. Shonda advised the alarm device was installed when she decided to store her sewing machine inside. Shonda advised Timothy would mess with the sewing machine, and she wanted it in safekeeping. The sewing machine was currently stored in the room against the far wall of Timothy's room. It was not easily accessible as it was surrounded by clutter. I asked Shonda to explain the purpose of the blue tarp inside the closet. Shonda said at one time her dog snuck downstairs, got locked in the closet, and urinated. Shonda said the tarp was placed in the closet in case the dog got locked in the closet again. Interview of Shonda. I spoke with Shonda at her home throughout the investigation. The conversation was audio recorded. During the conversation, Shonda denied ever physically assaulting Timothy. Timothy had gone 2 to 3 weeks without eating because he was on a hunger strike. She was not aware of how malnourished he was until last night. I will complete a more detailed report, including the statements made by Shonda after reviewing the audio recording. LaView Data Preservation. Shonda had the LaView application on her phone, which was the same brand as a camera recovered from her home. I contacted the company via email and requested immediate contact to attempt to preserve any evidentiary data the company may possess. Home search on 7/6. I observed Shonda on her Apple iPhone using what appeared to be a home surveillance application. I could not determine the specific application. I asked Shonda if she would be willing to provide consent to search the home. She denied consent. A short time later, I explained to Shonda that we would be obtaining a search warrant for the home. I asked her to turn over her cell phone to preserve evidence that could be located on the device. I asked Paul to turn over his cell phone to preserve evidence that could be located on the device. Originally, Shonda chose not to provide her passcode to the device, but I had observed her entering it. She confirmed the code to me. Paul chose not to provide his passcode. Both phones were placed into airplane mode. Shonda was allowed to access her phone to obtain phone numbers from the device. I monitored her whenever she had access to the phone. Paul's passcode was later provided by Shonda. The home was secured to preserve evidence while Sergeant Hoaxima obtained a search warrant. I know, it is, Teresa. It's disgusting. Hey, Jane's Addiction, thank you. Hey, M. Trance. I mean, I think it's both of them. I do think, he is, but I do think he was an adult, and he has to be held accountable. He doesn't get a pass. Maybe he gets not as long as her, but he needs to be punished because he's an adult, and I know she manipulated him, but he also made that choice. So... But no, I mean, I do agree that he was a victim of her, and it sounds like his dad too. It sounds like even there, it wasn't the best for the kids. And like the teacher saying that it looks like all the kids had some kind of trauma. So I do think that's gonna, definitely influence a kid. You know what I'm saying? So he is a victim, but he also is a perpetrator too. He still needs to do a time. And now I'm worried he might repeat. He could repeat offend, and that's scary because he might be the type that would. I don't know. Hopefully he gets some help and he doesn't. Anyway, interview of Shanda. The following are summaries of statements made by Shanda while at her home on 7/6. I explained to Shanda that she was not under arrest or in custody. Blank was diagnosed bipolar. I'm guessing Timothy, right? He would eat when he was bored, and that's why there were locks on the food. Timothy did not have a key to the food, but the pantry was not locked. He turned blank in August. Husband Adam had a stroke on January 3rd. Adam hasn't been home since. It wasn't long after January 3rd that Timothy went on his hunger strike. It lasted 18 to 19 days. She threatened to take him to the ER if he didn't eat. He began eating again. Adam had a seizure on June 8th. It is the only thing she could think of that could have caused it. She didn't realize until today that Timothy hadn't been on his devices. He wouldn't let her touch him. He wears baggy clothes. She didn't realize how bad he had gotten. She realized last night and threatened to take him to the ER if he didn't eat. He asked for toast with butter on it. She watched him eat a couple of bites and walked away. He said he was done and went downstairs. He wouldn't come upstairs when she said goodnight. She walked down to the last couple stairs and asked for a hug and kiss. He said mama in a manner indicating he did not want to. Paul came home around 2 a.m. and heard him snoring. So she's saying, because you remember how Paul said he heard Timothy snoring, which I think is a crap, and I think that's a lie. So Paul came home around 2 a.m. and heard him snoring. She got ready for work in the morning and went to check on him. She said his name, but he did not respond. She put her hand on his chest and he was not breathing. She remembered her 20-year-old son Paul helping her get him off the bed. She did an internship with Judge Smedley in Muskegon County. The house was messy from being busy and having a blank and 20-year-old. The 20-year-old can be aggressive. The blank-year-old has a tablet, but he has not been on it in the last few weeks. He brought it to her to charge and hadn't asked for it back. Timothy had not been seen at the doctor since he came to Michigan. Wow, now they forgot to read that. That's weird. Timothy was not on any medication. So yeah, he hasn't asked for his iPad. Well, he hasn't had energy, when would he have had time to use it? You know what I'm saying? But he has no energy to be able to even be on an iPad because you're freaking starving him. So it says he has not been on he had not seen a doctor since he came to Michigan. He was not on any medication. She has ADHD and central processing issues. Her mother-in-law had not been to the house since her husband had a stroke. Her house was just cleaned up on Saturday. Wait a minute, if that's what's just cleaned up, wow. She was not willing to come to the police department to be interviewed without her father-in-law with her. He is an attorney. She passed the bar on her first try. She got a 182 on the bar out of 200. Brag much? She would like to do appellate-level criminal prosecution. Timothy would lie about anything. He would leave the freezer and fridge open and waste food inside. He got bored doing work and busted his desk. It's called having a freaking adult around. So he gets in the fridge or freezer, just make sure it's shut. Go shut it. Most of them have a little thing that makes a noise. You know? He got bored during schoolwork and busted his desk. She heard Timothy and Paul get into it shouting matches, but never physical fights. She's kicking herself for not noticing sooner. Lately, he has been curling up on his bed for most of the day. He's been reading books. He'll tell himself stories. He didn't seem down. He seemed chipper whenever she saw him. She usually saw him multiple times per day. She had a limit to his time on devices. She should have noticed he wasn't using the device. As a parent, how did she miss this? When he was stealing food last summer, Paul found a bunch of wrappers under the sink. He would hide wrappers behind his bed and under the mattress. He would take apart batteries. He was living with dad and stepmom for most of his life. Okay, Shonda last lived with him when he was about 3. Shonda did not talk with her very much in the 10 years she was not living with him. So because remember, we were trying to figure all this out. Like, we were going through things. We wanted to know these details. So She last lived with him when he was 3. She did not talk with her very much in the 10 years she was not living with him. She got text messages from his dad. He said Timothy needed to move up with Shanda. Timothy moved in with Shanda on May 30th, 2021. It was first discovered he was stealing food in August 2021. He would lie about doing things he was asked to do, including chores. Her husband had a stroke January 3rd, 2022. She was okay with Timothy staying home alone. At times, Timothy would stay home with him. Yeah, it was probably Timothy staying home alone, and then at times G would stay home with him. She felt overwhelmed, busy, lonely with her current state. Someone must think I'm Superwoman, but I'm not, pointing up toward heaven. What? So she just pointed up? Like, someone must think I'm Superwoman, but I'm not. Like, talking about God or something? After Adam's stroke on June 8th, Timothy started taking advantage of her. Timothy stated he was on a hunger strike for two weeks ago. Timothy told her he was not hungry and wasn't going to eat. He was zombified by meds when he first came to Michigan. She took him off all those medications. He only took Benadryl before bed each night. He didn't seem depressed. She did not know of him eating anything in the last couple weeks. And you let him go, not eating anything, knowing he has some mental, you know what I'm saying? Like, he might need, well, we know that she was keeping it from him, but I'm saying, like, what's your excuse? You don't know if he's eating in 2 weeks, in a couple weeks? Paul and G did not see him eat either. With blank, you get the truth. I'm guessing G, maybe, you get the truth. The locks on the fridge were to prevent Timothy from wasting food. The locks were for Timothy specifically. If Timothy wanted something out of the fridge, she gave him the key. Liar. He was a little chunky when he first moved to Michigan. The food strike in January lasted 18 to 19 days. She threatened to take him to the ER, and it stopped. He had been wearing baggy clothes. He would not give her a hug because he was a teenager. There would be pictures of the other children since January, but not of Timothy. He gained weight back since then. She did not notice any difference in him in the last 2 to 3 days. He had been keeping his hood up, so she didn't notice. She noticed last night that his face was different. She didn't take him into the doctor because they have done this before. She saw him eat a couple bites of toast. The shackles were for Paul because he was testing something for a TikTok video. Are you kidding me? Wow. She had a key to the shackles in case someone got stuck in them. So she's saying Paul had the shackles for his TikTok video, okay? There was an alarm on the basement closet because there was some sewing stuff stored in it. It had been moved out. The cameras were in the home because Timothy would G would strip down naked and wander around. He quit doing it, but she had them up just in case. The cameras are two-way audio and were used to see what he was doing. And we saw Adam saying that wasn't even true. He said that he didn't take his clothes and wander or go around the house. That's what he said in the interview. So what the heck? The cameras are two-way audio and were used to see what he was doing. You communicate via the apps on her phone. She had motion sensors to prevent Timothy from getting into the garage. She had no idea what the bruises were from on his body. He was stumbling around last night and fell. She never hit the child. He fell out of bed. He fell out of bed about every 10 days. He told her he just rolled out of bed. She noticed scratches on him but did not know what they were from. He said the scratches were from falling out of bed. They looked fairly fresh to her. She was not sure what time he fell out of bed in that night, but knew it ended with 30. She originally stated it was 5:30 a.m., but was told that was not possible because Timothy was already deceased at that time. She thought he was in trouble. She would have never left him home alone. She purchased the shackles on her Amazon account a few months ago. She never saw what Paul did with them. It wasn't on a person, but it was on Legos. The hot sauce in the downstairs bathroom was for food. Timothy liked spicy food. She wasn't sure why it was in the bathroom downstairs. It was upstairs on the counter the last time she saw it. They couldn't force him to eat. She kept food he liked and cooked stuff he liked. She didn't see how bad it was. She saw today how bad it was. She had been second-guessing herself over and over. She couldn't force anything. He said he wasn't getting in the car to go to the doctor in January. She couldn't force him to go because he was bigger than her. She then said he was bigger than me. He was not treated differently than the other 2 boys. Yeah, that's a big lie. She offered him pizza, but he didn't want it. He did not get scratch marks from her. Wow, the fact that she had to point that out. is very telling. Like, oh, he didn't get the scratch marks from me. Yeah, why do you think who's saying that? Nobody said that. Why would we assume that? Unless if there's a reason we should assume that, right? So she heard a thump of him falling out of bed. She went down and asked if he hit his head. He hit his chest. He climbed back on his bed. So that means, think about this. That means that they did something to his chest. So now hearing that she's trying to give a reason why he has like marks on him, and one of the things she points out is the hitting him his chest. So that means that she knew he was a hit somehow. Something about his chest got hit from them. She was aware of it, and then she's trying to make reasons why he has these marks on him. So I don't think it's from the CPR. So yeah, I wonder what they freaking did to his chest. Because we know he didn't fall out of the bed, because we know he was long gone. He was gone hours before she's claiming this. She's lying. They have a video of it. He didn't fall out of his bed. Well, he wasn't even in his bed. What are we talking about? We know he wasn't in his bed. He was in the closet. Anyway, she did not notice how thin he was. She noticed his face last night, but he did not want to talk to her. He did not have scratches on his face when he went to bed. They did not restrict his movement at night with shackles. He was not allowed to go into the garage. She went back to bed after he got back into his bunk. She was hoping to go to bed early, but didn't get to bed until after midnight. She got up and got ready in the morning. She went downstairs and said Timothy's name. She put her hand on his chest and freaked out.
It's too late now to turn around and back again. I made my bed and now I lay my head in it. And I'm sorry I'm not perfect, but I knew that I wouldn't be. I guess it's for the best, you know the worst in me. Good at being good, but I never said I was. And I feel misunderstood, cause I'm trying hard to love. I'm sorry, my actions, they haunt me, and I'll never live it down. I'm no good at being good, but I never said I was. You call my bluff, I won't pick up, I let it ring. Record your voice so I can listen back again. And I'm sorry I'm not perfect, but I knew that I wouldn't be. I guess it's for the best, you know the worst in me. Trying hard to love. I'm sorry, my actions, they haunt me, and I'll never live it down. I'm no good at being good, but I never said I was. So do you wanna take me back? All of our broken plans, so we can start again. Won't turn down a second chance, I'm too selfish for that. I let you fall again, now that you know that I'm no good at being good, but I never said I